Call the budget meeting to order. Is there any citizens communication?
No, ma'am.
No citizens communications. Okay, ready to approve the minutes for May 13th, 2025?
Second.
Has anybody got any changes, corrections? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Commissioner Guppy is out today. Next, we are for a lot of transfers, and I'm going to hand this over to Phoebe.
Thank you. This evening, we do have quite a few transfers, as this is almost our last opportunity to make those adjustments before fiscal year end. The first request is from the election department. This is Administrator of Elections. These are to take care of some maintenance and repair items due to the city elections and general maintenance that they have at the end of the year. So the first one is for a total of $35,600, pulling those from dues, freight, and printing, and combining those dollars so that we can do some maintenance on repair on the equipment. The second transfer is $3,500, moving from dues and memberships to other expenses. The third request is to transfer from travel and printing into license, a total of $12,139.
Can I get a motion?
Second.
Has anybody got any questions about these transfers? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
The next transfer request is from our county clerk. This is transferring $3,700 from printing and stationery and distributing those among the lines for communication, dues and membership, operating lease, and travel. Again, this is just to meet the needs for the remaining of the fiscal year.
Second. Anybody got any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
The next transfer request, the next two actually are from the sheriff. The first one is to transfer funds from the drugs and medical supply, natural gas, water and sewer, and moving $100,000 combined into medical and dental services.
Get a motion?
Second.
Anybody have any questions?
Just a question, how much do we have left in that account for the 1 month we've got left?
Currently, we have an open purchase order for $108,567, and we have not encumbered 61 for a total of $169,000.
So you, explain to me how you need an extra 100,000 on top of that.
So the monthly payment for TK Health is roughly $84,000. So we have the May payment that should be posted now, but then we'll have the June payment that will come out of there. We also have claims that have been received and forwarded to TK Health that we've not been received back an invoice for to pay those outstanding claims to TK Health for the providers.
So you've got this 100,000,
Yes, sir.
and then you've got a resolution built in here for $500,000.
Yes, sir.
And if that goes through, how much will we have spent on medical and dental for our prisoners this year?
Our total budget at that point will be to try at $2.3 million. And last year we paid actuals, I think, right at $2.4 million in last year actuals for medical.
Do we get a motion on this?
We not.
Does anybody have any more questions on this? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
Our next transfer request is to transfer $30,000 from training into prisoner transport for additional cost to cover through the fiscal year.
Motion, please.
Second.
Has anybody got any questions on this? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
The next transfer request is from our property management director. The first one is for $8,000 to move from custodial personnel over to overtime pay. The second is to move $10,000 from water and sewer and $5,000 from in-service staff development for a total of $15,000 for maintenance and repairs so that we can utilize those funds to do some repairs at the end of the fiscal year in our buildings. And the last request is actually transferring $27,000 into electricity, and will be utilizing the remaining balance from communication, contract with private agencies, gasoline, and in-service staff development to absorb the cost.
So moved.
Second.
Does anyone have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
Next transfer request is for my Public Safety Director. The first transfer you will see is moving $16,000 from assistant into overtime. This is to cover some of the overtime that we incurred due to disaster employment. So our team actually went out to Florida and North Carolina to initiate help. And so we will get those costs reimbursed to us. You will see actually later this evening, there is a resolution where we receive some of the funds, but not all of the funds. Therefore, we're having to make up the costs within our own operating budget for the time being. That is your first one. Your next transfer request is for $2,000, and that's just switching some allocation into operating lease payments. $14,000, moving from operating list payments, moving those funds into some maintenance for vehicles. This is just to support some fire apparatus for some repairs that we need there. The next request is for $2,000. This is moving from gasoline into maintenance and repair services as well for additional cost. Natural gas, $3,000 into maintenance and repair. Again, these are just some end of the year maintenance on those fire apparatus. The next transfer is $4,000 from water and sewer into repairs. $22,000 from maintenance agreements into other supplies and materials. And again, for volunteer fire recruitment, we are moving $6,500 from maintenance agreements into advertisement. The next transfer request is for $2,700, and this is just some additional funds needed in our diesel fuel. So we are absorbing that from our natural gas line item. And that would be all for public safety.
Can I get a motion, please?
Second.
See any questions about this?
Where's Connor, my question to you is twofold. I'm sorry, I didn't get this to you ahead of time. Where and what are we doing to the fire apparatus repair? Where's it at? And what kind of unit is it?
And which unit is being repaired? This funding is going to go towards several units. Since we had so many repair needs this year, we've been putting off lower priority needs. So this will be able to let us catch up with some of those lower priority needs across a bunch of different apparatus and do some preventative maintenance that we were going to push until next year, but we were able to find a little bit of savings to do some preventative maintenance in June.
And
Specifically,
is that the same thing, then you're looking at the 22,000 for the maintenance agreement?
the 22,000 going into other equipment and supplies, that's going to be, the majority of that, about 14,000 is going to equip Engine 20, which is our new fire engine we're standing up on Malachi Lane and Triune. And then the remainder of that is going towards some IT needs and radio communications needs.
So that money's going to the new location, the new equipment out there?
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And then just specifically, two of the larger maintenance, vehicle maintenance items in there that we're gonna use funding for are Engine 28 in Paytonsville and Ladder 22 in Grassland. Just so you know, those are two of the larger items that funding's going towards.
Thank
you. Sir.
Any other questions? Ready to vote?
I just have a quick
Oh,
question. Just curious how the recruitment's going on the volunteer firefighters.
Volunteerism is down across the nation, as you know, so we do struggle Where we struggle is retention. A lot is asked of volunteers in terms of the training that's put into it, the time that we ask them to commit, and just with the need for training and all that goes into that increasing, it's a lot to ask of people to give it their time, and just the overall national situation with people having less free time and having to work more, we're definitely seeing a downward trend. Right now, our average volunteer lasts just about a year, which is pretty painful when you think about it takes us almost a year to get to the point where they can be fully trained and a productive firefighter. So we definitely struggle there. Overall, for the entire county, our number is just about, I think we're about 210 volunteers, and that's across 14 stations. And of course, some of those are more active than others, so really what you'll find is at just about every station you have a core of maybe 4 or 5 volunteers who are very active, and then others who can kind of give what time that they can. So we do struggle there. The fair is a big event where we try to do a lot of recruitment, so that's what this funding is for, is to get some more supplies and materials so we can attract some more people at the fair. But we are constantly recruiting throughout the year. And again, we do fairly well with recruitment, but keeping people and keeping them engaged and getting them to give of their time and spend time away from their families is always a struggle.
All right, ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
The next transfer request is for our health department, from our health department director. This is to finish up the upgrades in the Fairview Clinic, utilizing funds that are left in the drugs and maintenance supply, or medical supplies, instructional supplies, and office supplies, for a total of $3,293 to go to that maintenance and repair so we can finish that project.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
See if anybody got any questions about this? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
Next transfer this evening is a request from the Director of Juvenile Services. The first one is $7,000, moving funds from part-time line item to overtime. The second request is for other supplies of $600 to be moved to periodicals. And the third is $600 moving from in-service staff development to dues and membership. Again, this is just to complete those expenses through June 30.
Second.
Does anybody have any questions about that? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
We have a transfer request from our Community Development Director. The first one is moving from operating lease payments, $4,500, and just distributing those over office supplies, communications, and consultants, as you can see there.
So moved.
I've got one more for
Sorry.
that one. That's okay. I paused too long. The second one is for other contracted services of $12,000 and moving to consultants of $12,000.
Now so moved.
Second.
Has anybody got any questions about this? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
We have 2 transfer requests from the highway superintendent. The first one is moving $4,000 from into legal from natural gas. This is just legal expenses were a little higher than estimated. So $4,000, moving that money into legal services.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Has anybody got any questions about that? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
The second transfer request is to cover some cost for the traffic signal at Oxford Glen and Clovercroft, moving those funds from the bridge construction line of $21,000 into that highway construction line.
So moved.
Second.
Does anyone have any questions? Ready?
I do have one. Eddie, you'll have to come up here.
Okay.
So the question I'm asking is, we're taking it from bridge, going to highway construction for that light. Is that a result? Why's that? Why did we put a light there? Was that the request of the
Back
state?
years ago, now we lowered Clocroft Road down at McKay's Mill, Oxford Glen Drive. That's where this red light is going. You put the red light traffic signal up back whenever it put up, but it does not have a left turn arrow. This should install left turn arrows.
Is that a result of the city?
Well, the city is actually partnering with us on this,
Okay.
$21,000. And because they helped pay for some of that, they funded some of that project that we did years ago, like $150,000, what the city part was then. So we have been in contact with them as well. They're all going to fund half of this cost, which the total is $42,000. Our cost is $21,000.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions for Eddie? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
The next request is actually for a surplus vehicle. This is just requesting when that vehicle becomes available that we transfer that over into the IT department.
So moved.
Second.
Does anybody have any questions about that? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
We do have one additional transfer request from the IT department, and that is for $335, moving funds from part-time to overtime, just to cover those additional unforeseen overtime costs.
So moved.
Second.
Does anyone have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
Our next transfer request is for our ag extension. This is a total transfer totaling $9,500. We are taking monies from the travel line, communication line, dues and membership, gas and janitorial, and we are consolidating those and moving those to equipment line for $9,500.
So moved.
Second.
Does anyone have any questions?
What equipment?
So it's actually listed as office supplies, maintenance, and equipment. So it could be things like we have a board that is used for a monitor for some of the teaching display rooms. And so it's 12 years old. So replacing that, replacing some outdated printers, and then maintenance and supplies of other things that have been utilized throughout the year.
So as a follow-up to that, does UT help us with any of that?
So UT provides a lot of the travel, provides a lot of the HR costs. And so for the most part, every program fund that we use, we raise either through sponsorship or donations or some class fees.
In other words, no.
So,
Does anyone have any more questions for Matt? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
We have a transfer request this evening from our Ag Expo Park. This is transferring $2,500 from vehicle maintenance into equipment maintenance.
So moved.
Second.
Does anyone have any questions on this? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
Our last transfer request for this evening is from our Parks and Recreation Director. This is to move a few line items. One, the biggest thing is to part-time instructor and personnel. We are moving $34,000 into another part-time reclassification and overtime. We also are moving from permits and maintenance to take care of some adjustments for some shortages in pest control, pool chemicals, and custodial supplies for a total of $55,700.
So moved.
Second.
Does anyone have any questions for Gordon on this? No. Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. All right. Ready for our resolutions. Resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to grant an easement to Comcast Cable Communications Management concerning property located along Horton Highway.
So moved.
Second.
Kevin?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, basically this, we've been contacted by Comcast to provide a hub. What that is going to do is actually increase the service and the ability for the patrons that live in that area to have better communications. No cost to us. We have a site that's available out of the way, out of sight, out of sound.
Does anyone have any questions on that? Oh, we already got the motion. Go too fast. Does anybody have any questions on that? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against?
No.
Oh, you're against? Okay. 3, 4, 1 against. Resolution 6255, resolution to transfer funds to the Rural and General Debt Service Fund to pay principal and interest on energy systems conservation debt, $1,163,173.88.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is our annual ESCO Energy Service Company contract, year 8 of 15, to reimburse for the energy savings improvements we did a few years ago.
Does anyone have any questions on this? This is one last year we let y'all keep.
That's correct.
You don't get to keep it this year. Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 6256, resolution amending the 2024-2025 general purpose school budget, $900,000 for additional textbook expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a resolution, a proposed resolution to cover the cost of the science textbooks and some of our AP textbooks for next year. When we went through the budget process last year, we actually reduced our budget by about $1.5 million, and it came in $600,000 less than that original. So we are asking that to cover those textbooks for next year.
Does anyone have any questions? I have a question. Is this the textbook that was such a controversy about between the teachers and the school board?
Yes, it is, but the reality is we would have had to had this expenditure no matter which one was selected.
So does the school board realize how much more these were?
This $900,000 is $900,000 more than our budgeted amount, but it's not $900,000 more than it might have been had they selected a different textbook. Just based on our numbers and the workbooks, we ended up with this lower, increased amount above our budget. So we did have that discussion, but we can't identify that it cost us $900,000 more. We had just lowered our budget last year.
How's this going to affect funding next year if you're taking almost $1 million out for this?
Ms. Farmer actually projected that as we went through this coming budget process, so we did not include this $900,000 in our fund balance for this.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 6257, resolution amending the 2024-2025 general purpose school budget, $150,000 for additional special education expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is actually a move from one expenditure line to another, from contracts with private agencies to mileage and other contracted services. So we actually were able to do a little bit more of the services through our folks. That's the mileage, and then some other contracted services that for state reporting purposes have to be in a different line. No money taken out of fund balance.
Anybody have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution number 6258, resolution amending the 2024-2025 general purpose school fund budget, $20,000 for additional expenditures from existing revenue funds.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This $20,000 actually comes from revenue and is scheduled to go to custodial for rentals of our facilities by local nonprofits. We had a little bit more rental than we projected, but we had the revenue to cover.
Does anyone have any questions? I have a question. When you rent these, I assume you're making money, it's just not covering the custodial, is it?
We actually, as a nonprofit entity, as a government entity, cannot schedule it to make a profit. So these fees are designed to cover the expenses, and that includes custodial, plus we have a building monitor. And if I'm not mistaken, our schedules are designed to cover a little bit of utilities as well. But this is not a moneymaker for us. It's designed to be flat.
All right, has anyone got any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 625-9, resolution appropriating $700,000 in the 2024-2025 general purpose school operating budget for liability, workers' comp, and property insurance claims.
Second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is proposed adjustments based on actuals versus projected for liability, excess risk, workers' comp, and building and contents insurance.
Does anyone have any questions? I assume, Rachel, you figured this in your, so that it doesn't affect your funding, having enough funds. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 625-10, resolution appropriating $300,000 in the general purpose school fund budget from current revenues for related trustee commission. Annette?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had actually budgeted $5.1 million for the trustees commission that we're passing back to the county. This covers the difference. It was actually a little bit more than our projections.
Does anyone have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0. I think that's all for
Thank
you,
you.
Jason, unless you've got some at the end.
I'm hoping not.
Resolution appropriating and amending the 2024-2025 election commission budget by $290,786.83, revenues to come from county general fund.
Second.
Chad, did you want to come speak on this?
Madam Chair, members, when we have a large presidential election and an August election prior to that, we generally have overages in order to pay our election workers. We had about 122,000 vote early last fall in the presidential election. So making all that work is certainly very expensive, but so that's where we are with our budget.
Does anyone have any questions about this? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 625-12, resolution appropriating and amending the 2024-2025 Health Department budget by $4,561.33, revenues to come from donations.
Second.
Yeah, and I think there's an amendment. Let me read that.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, the amendment should be on a single sheet that was laid out to replace the 4561.33 with the number 13,561.33. And the reason to that, and also to add the amendment to pick up Cigna and St. Paul Episcopal Church to the list of donors. Kathy can explain all that while we're doing it at the last minute here.
Thank you, Mayor. The health department is chairing this year's big backpack giveaway. This is our 22nd year to do this. So we have been reaching out along with our committee members to different churches, local organizations, and so forth for donations to help us with purchasing school supplies and backpacks for over 2,500 kids this year.
Could I get a motion on the amendment?
Motion to amend.
Second.
Has anyone got any questions on the amendment?
Is it okay, let me ask legal, Jeff, is it okay we can add both of these amendments in one swoop rather than doing one and add another? Would you have
Yes.
a problem with that?
No.
So if you could, whoever made the motion to put both of those in there to pick up the two entities that are actually making a contribution to change it, but it'll be all right with you, Madam Chairman.
So the motion to amend is to replace the 4561.33 with the 13561.33, and then on the third whereas, to add Cigna Insurance Company and St. Paul's Episcopal Church to the list of donors.
Get a second on that.
Second.
Y'all ready to vote on the amendment?
I just have a quick question, I guess, on the amendment. Is it, I know that we just did the RFP award to Cigna Insurance Company. Is there any conflict with them doing a
There's no
donation?
quid pro quo.
That's it, that's my question.
All right. Ready to vote on the amendment? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Amendment passes 4-0 now on the original resolution. Has anybody got any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 62513, resolution appropriating and amending the 2024-25 Parks and Rec budget by $250,000. Revenues to come from Parks and Rec participant fees.
So moved.
Second.
Gordon, would you like to come up and speak?
Good afternoon, everybody. This $250,000 is money that is necessary to meet our contractual obligation to the Freemans for the payment that they are due for the Renaissance Festival.
Does anyone have any questions on that? Commissioner Smith?
How did it go this year?
Well, went very well. Just to give you a brief idea, and these numbers aren't 100% the final numbers because there's still some reconciliation being done. But it looks like the gross revenue was $2,284,950. Expenses $990,000. Total net revenue $1,294,950. And I'd like to thank some folks in the room. Rodney over here, he helped us with our sheriff deputies out there for 9 days, and they did a fantastic job. We're very appreciative for them being out there. Kevin Perry was here earlier. We had folks from IT, all the different departments chipped in. Connor, all the folks from EMS, EMA were there. Arrington Volunteer Fire Department, and of course, Parks and Rec staff did a super fantastic job. Very proud of everyone. Also, it should be noted that the $250,000 is not what the Freemans are actually going to receive. We just need to add that to our budget because we already have money in there from other things that we didn't spend during the course of the year. So it helped us with our bottom line also. But a very successful Ren Fest. Might point out that we did have rain on 4 of those days out there, and despite 4 days of bad weather out of 9, we had the best festival that we've ever had. Over 80,000 tickets sold.
I just want to say thank you. I got 0 complaints about Spanton Road this year. So
Well, you can thank Rick, you can thank Rodney. He can give you a list of all the deputies that were out there hustling the cars. And once again, it was just a group effort, everybody working very well together, and I couldn't be more pleased.
great, thank you.
I had a question, and it sounds like it was a great success. So, when it comes to the other agencies, like the Sheriff's Department or EMA or whatever working, does them paying the deputies or the EMS people or the whoever else that are out there, does that come out of their budget or does it come out of your budget?
So the only part that comes out of our budget is for sheriff's deputies. We give them $70,000. That's transferred out of our budget into theirs. All the other agencies are all doing this on their own now, and we really appreciate that.
I know it may not be for you, but does that cover how much it costs other agencies when the sheriff's department's getting money? Does it cover
So this year, with Rodney's work, we came in under budget with the assistance of the reserve division that also is non-paid, but between reserves and Rodney and his team, we came in under budget this year.
Thank you. We won't be asking for that money back, although we could use it.
Any other questions? Thank you, Rodney. All right, ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Don't leave yet. Resolution 62514, resolution appropriating and amending the 2024-25 Parks and Rec budget by $50,000, revenues to come from Parks and Rec participant fees.
So moved.
Second.
So once again, participation fees just being put into line items so that we can spend those funds.
Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. You can wait for it now. Resolution 62515, resolution appropriating and amending the 2024-25 County Commission tax relief budget by $30,000, revenues to come from unappropriated county general funds.
So moved.
Second.
Phoebe, you want to talk on this one?
Yes, this is actually for the tax relief base program that we have. This is for relief for the elderly, veterans, disabled, and their widows and widowers. And this is, we have had additional participants this year, and so our costs are a little bit higher than what we had projected, so this is putting in $30,000 additional to cover those.
Does anyone have any questions on this? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 62516, resolution appropriating and amending the 2024-2025 Trustees Commission in the respective operating funds, revenues to come from fund balance in each respective fund.
So moved.
Phoebe?
Yes, this is to cover additional revenues. As our revenues increase and are a little higher than projected, then so is the commission in which the trustee must take on those revenues. So this is to offset those expenses.
Which is a good thing.
It is a good thing. The higher the revenue, the higher the cost, but we didn't project it, so that's great.
Does anyone have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 62517, resolution appropriating and amending the 2024-25 Veterans Service budget by $2,586, revenues to come from the memorial brick paper sales.
So moved.
Second.
Phoebe?
So these are revenues that we have received for pavers. So when someone purchases a paver for a loved one, then it goes into our revenue line item, and this is down to move those monies so that we can pay for those that were actually ordered for this year.
Does anyone have any questions on this? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 62518, resolution appropriating and amending the 2024-2025 capital projects fund balance by $160,000 for the distribution revenues to come from privilege tax.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, Phoebe.
This is another one of those where you have a double-edged sword. We received more inadequate facilities tax than we had anticipated. Along with that, the more that we receive, the higher the percentage we have to then pass on to the cities. They do receive 30% of our collections for those adequate facility tax. This is to cover the remainder of the year for those checks for the distribution of their portion of the revenue.
Does anyone have any questions on this? Phoebe, what are these actually those supposed to be spent on by the cities?
So these are supposed to be used towards obviously the school and the maintenance and additional capital expenditures and construction for the city schools.
And is this for all the cities, this amount?
Yes, this is for everything total. So we base those distributions on population. So each city will receive their portion based on their population of the total dollar. And this is what we're expecting to finish out that fund.
So really, the city should be spending this on the schools that's in their city, correct?
Or improvements related to.
Do you know if that's ever done? Is
No,
it
ma'am,
ever-
once I issue those funds, I have no control over what they use those funds for.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions?
I
Yes,
guess this is,
Commissioner Smith.
based on what you just said, it seems like there would be some sort of accountability at the municipal level to make sure that those funds, just like we have to make sure those funds are used for the schools, then the municipalities would also have to have that same sort of accountability.
That's a project for you to work on. All right, is everybody ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 62519, resolution appropriating amending the 2024-2025 Rural Debt Service Fund by $290,979 for interest payments, revenues to come from undesignated fund balance.
So moved.
Second.
This, if you remember, we issued bonds in November. When we issue a bond, then we have to pay the first 6 months of interest when it comes due. It comes due before the fiscal year end. This is to make that first interest payment that was not in the original appropriations.
Does anyone have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 62520, resolution appropriating and amending the 2024-2025 General Debt Service Fund by $845,269 for interest payments, revenues to come from undesignated fund balance.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Chair, this is the same. This is just for the general debt service. So this is interest that is due within the first 6 months of that bond issue.
Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 62521, resolution appropriating and amending the 2024-25 county attorney's budget by $170,000, revenues to come from unappropriated county general funds.
So moved.
Second.
Phoebe, please.
Yes, this is for litigation. So we have incurred a little extra this year than we had anticipated. These are to take care of those fees, the court costs related to litigation, and this is just to put those into the different lines so that we can finish out our fiscal year.
I might also point out, not giving Jeff the cover, but we have several legal issues that are baked into this fee. Back taxes, personal property, litigations that go along with those types of regularities. This isn't just Jeff.
Does anyone have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 62522, resolution to authorize a $12.50 charge by the clerk of every court in Williamson County having jurisdiction of state misdemeanors and felonies for the purposes authorized and set up in TCA 40-3-106.
So moved.
Second.
Stacy.
Good afternoon, evening. This resolution is to allow the court clerk to collect $12.50 on convictions for all misdemeanors and felonies. That will go into a fund similar to our current economic crime fund, but where that only applies to certain crimes, this will apply to all misdemeanors and felonies except for non-moving traffic offenses. And then that money can then be used for public safety purposes through the district attorney's office, including salaries.
Doesn't the county fund a position for y'all?
Yes.
Do you use this for that, or do you use
No,
that
this
separate?
would be in addition.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions?
Not a question, Madam Chairman, but for the county commissioners who are here that night, it would require 2/3 vote.
No questions? then? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 62523, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a 2025-2026 grant contract with the State of Tennessee Department of Health for the provision of dental services at the Williamson County Health Department in an amount not to exceed $175,800. So moved.
Second.
Kathy?
Thank you, Commissioners. This is our cost reimbursement dental grant between the county and the state for a dentist and dental assistant at the health department.
Does anyone have any questions? I have a question on the dental services there. Do you charge, like, is it a sliding scale rate too? or
Yes, ma'am.
Do you do all types of dental services or is it limited?
It is limited. He doesn't do periodontal care. He does fillings, extractions, sealants, cleanings, things like that.
Okay, thank you.
No root canals, no dentures, that sort of thing.
Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 62524, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the City of Murfreesboro for solid waste management backup services. So moved.
Second.
Mac?
You know, in life, things happen. You can't plan for them, you just have to deal with them. So you're gonna see 3 resolutions. One for City of Franklin, one for Murfreesboro, and another for Rutherford County. All 4 of us will have transfer stations, and all 4 of us also do haul garbage. The 2 cities don't have roll-off trucks, but they have rear loader trucks and knuckle boom trucks. So if something happens to a transfer station, there's an option to go somewhere else to dispose of their residents' trash, not their businesses' trash. Just what they pick up from the curbside. So if they've got businesses coming to their transfer station, it's picking up trash somewhere in the county or the city or whatever, we're not taking those. And then if it's a big storm comes through and something, you know, the fleets go down, big sickness goes through, it's just anything that happens that we need help. But the only way it can be triggered is the mayor of each entity has to trigger it. The solid waste directors can't pull that off.
I guess my question is, it's not gonna be like, say, Rutherford County is full up and needs some help to get rid of their excess garbage. It's not like that.
We can't do that because we don't have that equipment. All of us have a private contractor that hauls our garbage away from our transfer stations. None of us do it ourselves.
Okay. So this is only if the transfer station is down.
If the transfer station's down, if a big tornado that comes through and we need help picking up debris off the streets, they have knuckle boom trucks. We have roll-off trucks. They can use their knuckle boom and put in our roll-off trucks, which will haul a whole lot more than their trailers will. So you have one knuckle boom in a neighborhood and 5 trucks run into it, and you'll get that neighborhood cleaned up pretty quickly and you move to another one.
Does anyone have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 62525, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the City of Franklin for solid waste management backup services. Can we get a motion?
So moved.
This is the same as the last. Any questions?
Yeah, I guess the question that we were chatting about, what is a knuckle boom?
Knuckle boom, that's not the driver. It's you see them riding down the street and they're picking up brush and putting it in the bed behind them. That equipment is called a knuckle boom.
All right, ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 62526, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with Rutherford County for solid waste management backup services.
So moved.
Second.
This is the same as the last one. Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
Even with the Renaissance getting rained on, they generated over 20 tons of garbage, 300 gallons of used cooking oil.
Turkey legs.
Turkey leg. Resolution 62527, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a real estate sale and purchase agreement to sell a fee simple and temporary construction easement to the town of Nolensville for the expansion of Sunset Road.
Second.
Kevin?
Madam Commissioner, we got, a couple of years ago, Mac and I got approached by the city of Nolensville. They're expanding Sunset Road. Part of that is in front of the convenience center. We've got some area out there that is .226 acres, and they're going to give us $104,000 for that property. They're also going to do a temporary construction easement a little bit more closer to the entryway, where they're going to do a lay-down yard, but they're also going to do some improvements to the entryway for the convenience center. So it's a win-win situation for us, in my opinion.
Does anyone have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 62528, resolution to surplus and approve the conveyance of mobile adoption trailer and authorize the Williamson County Mayor to execute all documentation needed to complete the conveyance.
So moved.
Second.
Andre?
Answering a volunteer email, sorry about that. We have this extra adoption trailer. As you know, we were gifted a trailer from Mark and Cindy Enderly. And so now we have this old one that we don't need anymore.
Does anyone have any questions about this? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Thank you. Resolution 62529, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a notice of limitation of use concerning the use of a portion of the Osborne Park property for public recreation purposes.
So moved.
Second.
Gordon?
Before I do that, I want to apologize. I don't have my teacher's eyes in the back of my head, but I forgot during the Renaissance Festival, the school system also provided us 6 buses and 6 drivers. And then, of course, Mac, he speaks for himself. Anyway, so I do appreciate everything that you guys did as well. In regards to this resolution, this is just an administrative house cleaning in order for us to comply with all the terms of the LPRF grant that we were fortunate enough to receive from TDEC in the state of Tennessee.
Does anyone have any questions?
Just one quick one. How long does it have to be used for just the public recreation? Is there a time limit on it?
It's for perpetuity.
For perpetuity?
Yes.
Any more questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 62530, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a notice of limitation of use concerning the use of the Castle Park property for public recreation purposes.
So moved.
Second.
And once again, this is the second piece to that LPRF grant. We combined Castle Park and Osborne Park. TDEC allows us to be able to put those two together. This saves the county money, and that we can hire one architect design firm. And if we need overages from one or the other, we can be able to do that. So once again, we'd like to thank TDEC for giving us the opportunity to put these parks online through these grants.
Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the town of Nolensville for the provision of firefighting and emergency response services.
So moved.
Second.
Connor?
So we've talked about this a lot throughout the budget process, but this is the agreement whereby we would work with the town of Nolensville for them to essentially respond to fire calls that are closer to their station than they are to ours, providing more efficient response. The agreement would be that we reimburse them $250 per call, which on the high end we're estimating is about $70,000 per year. And we were able to find almost all of those savings within our budget to stay as close to neutral in terms of budgetary increases this year. But it's a collaborative agreement that we worked on with them that we think benefits both parties.
Didn't we do this for Franklin? Is this the same one like we did with Franklin? Did we do something similar to this just like a month or two ago?
We're working on a similar agreement with Franklin.
Oh,
We have a similar agreement coming up next with Fairview. We are working on a hopeful agreement with Franklin where we actually have put money in our budget, but haven't come to a solid agreement with them. That's similar for Fairview and Nolensville. We're asking them to be the first response to fire calls that are coming to them. So they're taking sort of primary jurisdiction for those calls. For Franklin, what we're hoping to do is to enter into an auto-aid agreement whereby they would be automatically dispatched for just structure fires. And what that does is it gets us more help on structure fires, but also can help with insurance payment or homeowners insurance in that people who are outside of 5 miles of a county station, but within 5 miles of a Franklin station would benefit from that coverage. We don't have that agreement with Franklin right now. So for a structure fire that happens in that area, sort of that uncovered zone, people are treated as if they are without fire coverage in that area. Even though today we can get on the radio and request Franklin to help us, and they do all the time, we're looking for this auto-aid agreement that would automatically dispatch them. But they have to consider that that's a draw on their resources, and they would be giving up people to support incidents outside of the city. So we're working on that agreement and hope to come back to this body with an interlocal sometime soon.
Commissioner O'Neill remind, we discussed this in the budget.
Correct.
The extra money, I kept thinking there'd been a resolution, but it was put in the budget for next year.
Correct, yeah, that put it in the budget, and this is the actual interlocal
Okay.
go between the town and county.
Any questions?
I have one while you're there. So, as we all know, 840, except for just a sliver, is in Thompson State, in the Williamson County side. It's all in the unincorporated area, except for a little in Thompson Station and a little bit in Fairview, I think.
Correct, and a little bit's in Hickman County, over towards right outside.
Yeah, but I can't help Hickman County out. So, when we have an accident out there, and it's 100% unincorporated, do you know of any funds, or is that something we could work on a bill with our legislators to set up an agreement like that? Because they're receiving highway taxes, they're receiving weight fees for those heavy trucks that we could, would the state, do you think, in any way be able to reimburse counties across the state? That's a large question, but when you think about all that jurisdiction being served by volunteers.
Sure.
And now we're having to pay for Franklin or Fairview. I would see Fairview going out in Noblesville Lodi at 840. We're gonna be paying them for things that happen on state right of ways.
I'm not aware of anything like that, but we can certainly look into it and begin the conversation with the state. There are abilities to, for the fire departments to bill insurance companies that are responsible for vehicles that crash on anywhere. And Arrington Volunteer Fire Department does do that. They do bill insurance companies. The other two departments don't currently, but it's certainly something that we can look into.
But that's mostly for fire. I'm talking about spills.
So for spills, the responsible party does ultimately have to pay for it. And we do collect that information, and we provide a list of cleanup companies that they can choose from, or they can choose their own cleanup company, but ultimately they are responsible and ultimately are billed for.
Have we ever collected any? I don't remember seeing that come through. Have you ever seen any money fee come in from spills?
We don't receive the revenue. They essentially pay for it themselves, or private party to private party, for paying to cover up the hazardous material.
So who pays for the manpower to go out there and clean it up on our side?
On our side, that service is given for free.
That's what I'm asking you to go after.
Yeah. Yeah, we can absolutely look into it.
You know, I would think one of our legislators, I know that's a big ask from Bristol to Memphis.
It's worth
That's
asking.
a lot of turf out there that rescue squads and independent fire stations are having to take care of with no reimbursement except the county, which the state gets the money for all those roads. Taxes for all.
Any more questions?
Just, I guess, another comment from the mayor's side, it would almost be the same thing with I-65 too, right?
Yeah, it would be any area served by,
Our counties.
out in the unincorporated section. I-65 is a little different. You got Brentwood, you got Franklin,
Thompson Station.
and Spring Hill, but it's those outer areas like 840 that just, Thompson Station touches them, they don't have a fire department. So the only one is that little tip of Fairview.
Right.
Seems like the municipalities would be interested in probably joining with us to get some money back in the state.
I'll let you try that. I think we'd have better luck at the state.
It's definitely worth exploring the conversation.
Thank you.
Ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 62532, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to enter into an interlocal agreement with the City of Fairview for the provision of firefighting and emergency response services.
Second.
So similar agreement with the city of Fairview, where we would be asking them to take the primary response for fire calls that are closer to their stations than they would be to ours.
Any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution number 62534, resolution accepting a conditional donation of pet food from Mars Pet Care on behalf of the Williamson County Sheriff's Office.
So moved.
Second.
Who's speaking for the sheriff?
Yes.
Where is the sheriff?
This is a donation from Mars, who is going to contribute $8,400 in dog food for our K-9 program.
Does anyone have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Resolution 62535, resolution authorizing the Williamson County Mayor to execute a grant contract with the State of Tennessee Department of Finance and Administration, Office of Criminal Justice Programs, and approving a new full-time evidence-based program manager for the Williamson County Sheriff's Office.
So moved.
Second.
Good evening. You got any questions for me?
Well, if you want to just tell a little about this.
So yeah, we are entering into a grant contract, and we will work with our partner, who is Educare here in the city of Franklin. They're going to provide evidence-based programming for the inmates to reduce recidivism within the facility. And along with this grant is going to come funding to pay for one of our staff members to kind of manage and oversee and assist with those programs inside the facility. We've already got a program coordinator. We're just going to have another one that will only work with the evidence-based programming that the state is paying for.
And the Sheriff's Department understands that when this grant ends, that position ends.
Correct. It's written in the job description
That
that
was
way.
Ernie Williams' thing to always, once the grant's over, that's in the position. Has anybody got any questions?
Just a question about I guess the program itself. Is this a new program then?
New program.
Is this be a new program with this?
Yes, I believe we're adding 4 new programs. This is Ms. Demetria Carlo. She's the CEO of Educare.
Good afternoon. So this program itself is new to Williamson County. It's not new to the state of Tennessee. There's currently 30 jails in the state of Tennessee that has implemented this evidence-based programming. And so we hopefully want to add it into the Williamson County Jail. And there will be 4 curriculums that will be implemented, which will consist of the matrix model, which deals with alcohol and substance use, as well as some parenting curriculum, and a curriculum called MRT, which stands for Moral Recognition Therapy, which deals with cognitive distortions and negative criminogenic thinking patterns.
So I guess you're seeing a good success rate then?
So far, yes. I even followed up with the state to ask about the success rate, so to say, and they are currently collecting that data, and they're also collecting data to see how it is impacting the jail in relation to decrease in inmates having to go to D-ward and other areas as well. So where it's not, it's having more of a positive impact on the staff at the jail because they're not having to deal with so many incidences within it.
I have a question. Does it work any with job training or helping them work on getting jobs when they get out? Anything
So
like that?
the program itself does not have a job training component in it. However, I have been speaking with the University of Tennessee Extension that does have the capacity to offer that as well. And the grant does have a 3-week post-release assistance period within it so that we can help in relation to maybe they need a resume writing or they need maybe clothing so that they can go on an interview. We are able to pay for that within this grant.
Okay, thank you. Do anybody else have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0.
You.
Late file resolution 62538, resolution appropriating and amending the 2024-2025 Williamson County Office of Public Safety budgets by $46,595.83 for overtime supplies and maintenance of vehicles, revenues to come from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency, reimbursement for emergency management assistant to North Carolina and Florida.
So moved.
So these are reimbursements coming back from Florida and North Carolina for emergency management deployments that we sent personnel on to support 2 hurricane events in 2024. And we're just hoping to take this money back and put it back into our budget to offset the overtime that was used, vehicle and equipment costs, and food. I think it's about $200 worth of food.
Does anyone have any questions?
I think I appreciate Connor to outline that, but this program, so many of the sheriff does, where we're engaged with third-party vendors. I see Stacy nodding her head. Getting that reimbursement back oftentimes takes months or years, and it's always important to have a good, strong fund balance. Here we are at budget time to be reminded of that. We received money earlier from one, but it was several months to get to us.
Yeah, and we're still owed about $25,000 from other deployments that we're waiting on.
And I appreciate that, but the employees that are working, they kind of like to be paid on the Fridays every 2 weeks.
They do. We try to keep up with that.
All right, ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 4-0. Late file resolution number 62539, resolution appropriating and amending the 2024-2025 Sheriff's Office detention budget by $500,000 for medical services revenue to come from unappropriated county general funds.
Madam Chair, we have Chair Administrator Carol Esteban here to speak on the resolution.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to take a few minutes to speak about some of the issues that we have that happen, that our facility faces when we're dealing with inmates. And they're, lack of a better word, they're coming in sicker, they're staying with us longer, unfortunately. You know, we're governed by the Tennessee Corrections Institute to provide care for our inmates while they're in our custody. And sometimes that requires hospitalizations. And sometimes we have to send them to hospitals that are not in our county and they go to Nashville. So with that being said, sometimes we are able to negotiate the pricing, but we run into an extensive amount of money that we have to pay for their care. I'd like to take a few minutes just to share with you some of the issues we face regarding the inmates coming into our facility. Sometimes they come in with serious health issues. And I'd like to give you just a few examples of what we have faced this year. We have a number of inmates that have cardiovascular diseases, strokes, and with that comes medications that they have to take. And that's upward to $600 a month for their medications. We had an inmate recently that had stage 4 kidney failure, so we had to take him to dialysis. And this individual came into our custody last year on May 15th of 24, and he did not leave our facility until May 2nd of 2025. And so that in itself is a lot. We just recently had an inmate that fell off his bunk and fractured his hip. So, and that individual has been with us since May 15th of 24 and does not return to court until August 13th of 25. So you can see just a few of those. We run into this all the time. We'll get some out, and then we have some that come back in the back door. We have a few that take very expensive medications. Right now I have 3 on hand that their medication costs us almost $3,900 a month. We have a couple that have been on a specific program that pays for their medication, but there are certain criteria that these inmates have to meet in order to be able to receive those funds from the state of Tennessee. So as you can see, we have multiple things, and we never know what's going to be coming in the back door. We work very hard with our district attorney's office to try to get people adjudicated as quickly as we can, so that if they are going to be a state inmate, we can call the state and say we need a bed for those. If we know that they are going to be their pretrial and we know they're going to be a state inmate, then we ask for a special needs bed. The state doesn't have lots of those, so we have to wait in line in order to get one of those beds. And we don't get state beds a lot. This past year, I looked up the stat on it, and from July 1st of 2024 until current, we only received male beds 6 times for the year, for a total of 50 male inmates that went to the state. We had females that went 4 times to a total of 8 females that went to prison from July 1st until present. So as you can see, we don't have a huge turnover because we're not, the state looks at us as we're not overcrowded with state inmates, and so those beds, we don't get those. So that's just kind of a little snapshot, as the mayor says, of what we deal with on a weekly basis. We never know when the next major medical issue is going to come through the back door.
Does the state not reimburse the county for those medical bills since they're state inmate?
No.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
They don't become state inmates until after they're convicted. This is mainly pretrial.
There is one program that they had just started about a year or so ago where there is a certain medication that the legislature put into effect that if an inmate takes that specific medication, I can get reimbursed for that. And so I applied for that this past year, and it took about 6 months, but I did get reimbursed for that.
I guess my concern is I know how long it takes to get through the legal system, and continued and continued and continued. Is there any way y'all are able to push that a little faster?
I don't have any control of that. Like I said, we do try to, if we know someone who is rather sickly, we do communicate with the DA's office, and we also deal with the court clerk's office to see if we can get court dates pushed up. There are certain specific things that have to happen before someone can be totally adjudicated. So the process takes time, and we're not the only folks that deal with that. I read an article a couple of weeks ago that talked about that this is a problem across the country with the delayed adjudication, and they're bringing it back to COVID, saying that because the court shut down for a period of time, that it backlogged everything. So, and I could see that as well. I do know that there was, back in 2022, there was a law put into place called Truth in Sentencing Law, where there are certain crimes that are committed that the individual is required to serve 100% of that sentence. So they cannot receive any work credit, they can't receive any behavior credits, so nothing comes off of their sentence. So they are day for day. And so that we're running into that too. They, in the article that I read, it said that they don't even know the long-term effects of this, that it could be, someone could spend an extra year 0.2 to 15 years incarcerated. So and they won't know the ramifications of that for years to come until they start analyzing that.
Well, the DA's aware of when you have inmates that have serious medical needs. Are the judges made aware of any inmates like that, or they just have to overlook that?
No, we don't reach out to the judges. Stacy. No.
I guess, Stacy, could you?
Do you want me to answer your question?
Well, if there's anything that the county can do to speed up those things that could save a lot of money?
You know, we do speak with defense counsel. We also try to get that in front of the judge to let them know we're having certain issues. You know, ultimately, a lot of it is just dependent on what their case, and unfortunately, some of the issues I can think of off the top of my head, you know, these were very serious crimes, homicides, violent crimes, and so that takes a process. And I know one of the most recent ones, the judge, the defense attorney, and our office all worked towards trying to get a resolution as quickly as possible. But they're aware, it's just not always something we can do anything about. Especially if we're dealing with competency issues, that tends to slow everything down significantly.
So y'all all try to work together on it?
We do.
Good, good, thank you. And I guess my other question is, this is for you, Stacy.
Okay, no problem. You wanted me to stay?
Yes, we've only got a month left and you're wanting $500,000?
So when someone goes out to the hospital, we don't always get that bill right away. It goes, once we get the bill, we send it to our provider and they send an invoice for it. So the lag time sometimes is several months out. I do know that we do not have the funds to pay our monthly bill, as Ms. Davis alluded to, for the month of June because we have had so many expenses. So some of those folks that I just talked to you about, like the gentleman with the hip, so that just happened like a week and a half ago. So we don't have a bill from the hospital. So I had no idea how much his is gonna cost, nor whatever they say that if he has to have some type of other surgery. He's already had one. So some of that is for expenditures that we haven't had come in yet, that we know that are gonna be there.
Okay, Lynn.
Well, first of all, I have to remind everybody, if we don't spend this money, it just rolls into the fund balance. So I think number two, I think Carol does an outstanding job of trying to monitor all this, and my hat is off to her, and I appreciate what you do. On the other side of that, 1 penny of the tax rate goes for inmate medical and dental care across this county. And sometime when y'all don't have anything to do, and that's never, but I'd like to see how our county faces other counties in that cost. And I don't know if that's something you can get from other counties, but I mean, a penny is $1 million, is $1.8 million. So we're spending more than a penny of our total tax rate going for inmate medical and dental. I'd like to know what Rutherford County and some of these others are doing.
Yes, sir. We can look into that.
But overall, I think you're doing a great job. You're just saddled with handcuffs behind your back, and really the problem needs to be addressed in Nashville and at the federal level. Mm-hmm. Because quite frankly, they're getting better health care than some of our own employees right here.
Yes, sir, I agree with that.
And I have one more question. Why would you have to send them to the Nashville? What type of it?
So sometimes.
And do they give a discount?
We work with them to get a discount. So I'll just give you an example of someone that we had to send to Centennial, back several months ago. He presented with esophageal varices. So that's a very bad disease. So he had to go to Nashville, and his bill actually turned out to be $310,000. So our healthcare provider negotiated with that particular hospital and got it down to $81,000. So sometimes a Williamson cannot take care of the needs of some of these folks, and they send them on to Nashville. If there's a brain trauma, things like that, they go to Vandy. And so we do the best we can to negotiate the price down. So, the best we can.
Well, it's like the mayor said, it'll go in the fund balance if you don't use it all, so hopefully everybody will stay healthy.
Well, I hope so, but like I said, we just never know, what the next issue is coming through the back door.
Does anyone else have any questions? Ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody against? Passes 5-0. Is there any other business?
Madam Chairman, the only thing I remind you, tomorrow at 5:30, we have the public hearing. That will be conducted in the auditorium. That's it.
Anybody get a motion to adjourn? Budget.